It's Sarah Burke here. This is the Women in Media podcast, and I've discovered a podcast that is very similar to my own. But why am I shocked that women in the media industry are talking about similar things and passionate about similar things? So I want to welcome to the show this week two former broadcasters, current podcasters, who have a podcast called Bridges Burned, which is now part of Women in Media Network. Welcome, Megan Edwards and Amy Chabot. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you for having us.
So you two are both in Halifax.
I just moved back from Vancouver. I was in Vancouver for 14 years. I still feel like I'm in Vancouver, but I'm not. I'm here in Halifax for the time being.
Okay, so Halifax is where you grew up then?
Yep, it's where I grew up.
Okay. And Amy, what about you?
I grew up in Montreal, and I live in the country of Halifax. I'm 45 minutes away from life, but I live in a beautiful lake house with my husband and my cat.
Now, the last broadcasting role that you both had, both of you walk me through, the transition period that you're in and where you last were.
When I was last in media was about 4 years ago, and I decided I had just had enough of being treated like crap. I never felt like I was going to be moving up. And I felt like they kind of kept me around doing all the little jobs and made me feel like I was going to move up. And then eventually I was like, this is not going to happen. And quite frankly, I've been in it for so long. I'm just done. I need a break. And I knew that I'd always come back somehow, but I just knew I had to leave. It was 2021. And I was like, let me just move somewhere and do some random jobs that I've never done in my life before and just get out of this, what I think is normal radio and media. And so it's been 4 years for me.
So what radio station were you at last?
I was at Virgin Radio Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a big station, and I was also on CTV regularly as well. CTV News Channel, so national, and CTV News Vancouver, which I love doing, but I was mainly in radio, and I was losing myself. And quite frankly, I can tell now when I think back of the behavior I was showing, I was having a mental breakdown.
Oh my gosh.
But you think a mental breakdown is like, boom, it's a mental breakdown, but it's not like that. You have it, and then years later, you're like, holy shit, I was sick.
I feel like I look back at similar things in my career too. Okay, Amy, is it your former co-host Blair that sort of connected us? Do I have that right?
It is Blair Hanadizin. He was my morning co-host, and I'm so grateful for him and everything. And we did a morning show together on Surge 105 in Halifax. It was an alternative rock station.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And unfortunately, too much butting heads. And I was let go. I was let go in April. It was shocking to me and to Blair and this great foundation that we were building together. And so that was the first time in my life I've ever been let go. And it was hard, and it's not the way I wanted to go out. But been in radio since 2008 and worked in Ottawa, came to Halifax, did a couple of morning shows, and that was my last one.
Okay. Where did you two first connect? How did you two meet?
We met here in Halifax. So we met here in Halifax. Amy got the morning show job at my station. I was a midday show host. And then 9 months later, I got fired. And then I left for Vancouver, and that was 14 years ago. So we became friends really fast here, but never actually got to live near each other. It was I'd see her once a year when I'd come back to visit, but that's about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna float this here. All the cool girls get fired. Recently had these guests on the Jan Arden podcast. I highly recommend this book for both of you, Laura Brown and Christina O'Neill.
I actually just Amazoned it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to read it. And I just all the cool girls do get fired.
It's a fact.
Yeah. I quit, but I was still made to feel like I got fired. So a lot of it resonated with me as well. And by the way, if you want to hear my conversation on the Bridges Burned podcast, you can go listen to that. It's already out. So what got this idea brewing for you two to start the podcast together? How did it get named? Were you scared of putting your stories out there?
A lot of drunken nights. I was unemployed. She just moved back, and we were just sitting there. And I think, and talking to so many other women, it really is your identity. It's you're a personality in media because that
Mhm.
is your life. That is
Yeah.
everything you're putting out there. And you just want to hear and talk about stories. So we were sitting and being like, we should just do like a podcast. And we were actually going to call it Currently Unemployed.
Oh,
And
I like that too.
and just go random things and talk about the things that we do. And then we actually sobered up and we were like, we have a platform. Why don't we talk to other women who have been mistreated, not just in media, that's what we know, but in any male dominant industry, you're going to be told to play nice, to keep quiet, to keep the peace. And also with Bridges Burned, if you want to bring up that story of how we came to the name.
Well, I mean, we were sitting on our deck in the heat, tanning, looking up numerous names on ChatGPT and going over and over and over what we should call it. And then we were like, wait a second. We've been told so many times, don't burn bridges, don't burn bridges, literally since we began in this industry. And we were like, why don't we burn bridges now? And then we were just like, let's call it Bridges Burned.
It's like, what if the bridge deserves to be burned?
And I think a lot of the time you're just scared because if you burn a bridge, whether radio is happening in Vancouver and Halifax, we all know each other. And you can put all the references you want, but people are going to call other people. If they're like, oh, well, this person did this and this, your career could be over.
And we were kind of just sick of being like, we're not saying anything that's unfair. We're saying how we've been treated. And I don't think it's fair to say that I'm burning a bridge, so I cannot work in the industry because I've told people that you treated me like shit. Like, that doesn't make sense in my head. So going back to one thing you said, were we nervous about burning bridges? I was not, because I've had 4 years out of the industry and I was just like, I'm done. I don't care anymore. I've had that feeling, but I think you were different.
Yeah. I'm such a people pleaser, and it's so ingrained and groomed into you to play nice and not speak out about other people that I was really scared to tell my story because I didn't want to make anybody mad or close some doors. But the more I hear other women who have been through way worse situations than I ever could, it's just like she said, it's just telling a story. And you know what? Bad managers, unfortunately, are the reason so many people leave. And so if I'm going to speak out against somebody, I don't feel bad about it anymore because it's deserved.
Amy, if I may ask, Blair is still working at the radio station that you got let go from?
Yes.
With a new co-host now?
A male co-host, yes. They moved the afternoon guy up to do the show with him.
So how did conversations go with Blair and with management about like what they were doing? Like, did you have a heads up or you were walked out that morning? Like, just because I think there's going to be a difference in how these two things happen.
So I started getting a little suspicious in January. I went to the Dominican for my 40th and I came back, and I don't know if our manager thought that him and I didn't have that trust and respect with each other, but he would tell me, he's like, something weird happened. Like, our boss called me in and asked if I was happy with our show. And I said, yeah. And he goes, oh, you are? Really? And so from there, I was like, that's weird. And then we were doing a bit or something like that. And then I got written up for saying bish on the radio for, while Blair says ass, or, you know, the things. I got yelled at and told that I was making an embarrassment for myself. And that
Did you say bish or bitch?
BISH. We did a blood drive, and I said, young Amy used to be like blood, it's in you to give. Now, bish, it's in you to live. But then he took that out of context, said that I made fun of the situation and wrote me up for it. Blair was like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then we did our show. I was going home to Montreal to host my sister's bridal shower. And 2 hours before my flight, they brought me in, fired me, wouldn't let me open the envelope for the reasoning. Blair had no idea. He called me when I was driving home, and he's like, what just happened? And I was like, I don't know. I got fired. He's like, why? And I was like, anyway, the reasons were that basically I was an embarrassment to not only myself on air, but to the station. And I didn't.
These are words written somewhere?
Yeah, I've showed some lawyers, and they said not only is that the most unprofessional firing letter, it's also the most personal. And I asked Blair, I said, did you know? And he said, I had no idea. This is wrong. And he was devastated too.
And it's not skill-based, but you could tell from January, obviously, that there was a file being created, and
Oh,
so
absolutely.
interesting.
We had a consultant who didn't live here. He didn't have access to our logger. So they would just send him clips and he would listen to 3 clips. And we had a whole session of how basically dumb I sounded because I didn't know what redactive meant. And we were talking about the JFK files or something. And I said, Blair had said redactive. And I said, or hopefully they don't black it out. He goes, that's what redactive means. And I'm like, clearly I didn't know what that meant. And they basically told me I sounded dumb on air and that I don't do prep and I should have known. I even said to Blair, I was like,
This was a rock radio morning show, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for not knowing the legal terms in the JFK files, but
exactly. We did a thing called Tinfoil Tuesday, but all that to say, like, I even told Blair, I'm like, I don't feel like I can do anything right. I can't say anything right. I'm scared to talk. I'm scared what's going to come out. And I felt something was coming, but I didn't know it was going to be that.
So I have a hunch that this consultant that you're talking about is somebody that I know very well. And I had him as a guest on this podcast.
Oh.
Around the time, remember I was telling you guys that I, went to support my colleague, Jennifer Valentine, as she was at her Human Rights Tribunal this fall. Basically, around the time that her story was breaking, you two are familiar, but to anyone who maybe hasn't gone back and listened to the Jennifer Valentine episodes, there was a 2-part here on the Women in Media podcast. Yeah, so at the time, I wanted to have a guy on to maybe talk about an experience now, looking back at behavior from the past, because we're always learning, right? If something, let's say I was, I treated someone terribly in the past, I would like to think that I could take some personal time to think about it, maybe apologize to the person or at least try to make it right in some way. And so this is where I was going. I wanted to have a conversation with someone who had experience in management who could maybe reflect on their behavior over the years. And our relationship allowed us to do this while we recorded the episode. And I was told I can't release it. It's still sitting here in my Riverside studio. And why might that be? Well, that's because it became a vulnerable human reflecting on what had maybe been shitty behavior in the past. That's why I didn't want to release. So it's really interesting for me to hear that someone like that helped this narrative about you sounding dumb on air in 2025.
Yeah, no, in 2025, this same consultant, when we started a morning show, it wasn't with Blair, but it was me and 2 other men. I loved working with them. And he's like, well, we're going to need a dick, doe, and deer. And so, Amy, you're obviously going to be the doe. And it's like, well, you don't know me then because I'm no doe. Like, I'm going to speak my mind. And just the constant putting down. I even asked him once, he told me, he's like, you're not a good co-host, but couldn't tell me why, because I didn't know what the word redactive meant. I couldn't please him if I tried.
It even blows my mind that in 2025, that a radio consultant would use the terms doe, deer, like.
Yep. And then he said, we'll get into, I don't know if you want to use this or not, or it's about the book. Yeah. Anyway, rock stations are supposed to be male demographic.
Yes.
The 3rd book we ever had as that station, we were number 2 in the mornings with women, and they were mad. They got mad at me and told me to stop talking about so many women issues and that this is male dominant, but female friendly.
It's so interesting. The rock radio station that I worked at, where this man also worked in the building, our rock station went to number 1. That's good for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I wanted to pry a little further on that because, obviously it's such a sensitive thing, being let go, being walked out, especially you were there before, Blair, and then you're watching this all unfold. So, Megan, 4 years out, what have you found is like defining what you want to do next and how you want to carry yourself? Because even if you're not working in radio, there's a lot of lessons learned here.
Mm-hmm. I think after I left, for a while, I was a little bit relieved because I was just like, I'm so glad to be out of it. I'm so glad to be out of the cycle. I'm so glad to be done worrying. And I was doing really random jobs. I was a waxer. Like, I was a courier driver. I cleaned houses. Like, I did everything that I've never done before because I didn't have to. The shit I did, there's even more, but I learned a lot and I'm so glad I did that. But then it always comes back to, I didn't feel like I had a release for the creative side. This is what I want to do. I want to talk to people. I want to interview people. That's what I want to do. And I felt after a while, like I was like, something is missing. Something's really missing. And I still need that outlet, but I need to be free doing it. I can't talk about Ariana Grande's outfit anymore. I can't talk about a Nicki Minaj song that is played about 30 times today and it's like 10 years old and we're a top 40 radio station. Like, I just can't deal with it anymore. I want to talk about real shit. And that's what we're doing with our podcast. And I just want to be authentic and just, I spent so many years in top 40 and in TV where you have to be, I can't do that anymore. So I realized that the only way back in is to be completely authentic and talk about the stuff that's hard to talk about.
And it's so funny because I think that, radio management is, even when they do hire on consultants, I think the message is usually buried under there somewhere. Like, we need people to be authentic for audiences to cling to them. Right. And here we are. It's like, no, like, be the dough. Like, what? Yeah. So it doesn't like check out for me. But I felt a lot of those things too about like, it doesn't feel like I'm talking about things that matter. It's like part of the machine. Like,
we could never tell the truth, really. We were talking about this earlier. Like, I remember when an Avril Lavigne song came out and I interviewed Matt Babel for Much Music. And I'm sitting there being like, oh my God, I love the new Avril Lavigne song. He was like, yeah, I don't really like it. And I'm thinking, I fucking hate it too. But I have to say I like it because that's my job. So being authentic, it wasn't at all. I mean, I don't know what we were playing with.
And there's something interesting here too, like coming from the rock world, coming from the top 40 world, right? Like, it's still the same, even though they are wrapped up differently, packaged differently, right? And in podcasting, there used to be this joke, especially with like radio consultants, about how you turn up the radio when the jock is talking, you turn down the music when you're a radio person, right? And now, like, there's no music to turn down. Like, it's just talking, right? In podcasting. And to make someone stick around, also radio terms, if you're not familiar, like Cume, how many people are listening, right? Like, how big your audience is. And then there's TSL, time spent listening. In podcasting, your time spent listening matters so much more than what we call a download, which is when someone's been listening for 60 seconds. Like, what a stupid metric to measure anything by. So when you think about like how long you're keeping someone along for, it's incredible that a podcast that's 30 minutes long can keep that same person around longer than how you would measure that time spent listening in radio between songs and commercial breaks. Like, if you take away the music and you take away everything else other than the person talking and they're still there after 30 minutes, what does that tell us? Right?
Exactly. And there's a lot of the times I won't even listen to a podcast at all. If it's like a 20, 27-minute one, I'm like, no way. It's got to be like 40 minutes. Give me a 40-minute podcast. Like,
I want more.
Yeah, I need more in my life.
I think too, that was something that I saw with talking about consultants and stuff like that. These people who still have those connections with other people. And so that's why they have the job. It's not the best of the best. It's all, that's the boys club aspect of it. I think like, well, I know him from back here and he did this 20 years ago. He would be good. And you're like, but this is the person that's consulting us in 2025.
Didn't he say you guys have to do a newsletter?
Yes, that's yeah. Why didn't you guys start that newsletter yet? Oh, I don't know. It's not 1987.
But he was talking, and sorry to say, but that's like a job for your program director and the rest of the team to write a newsletter, not you guys. You're there to perform.
Yeah. And I think that's a new thing in radio is that you're not just there to perform. There were so many times they're like, well, what else do you want to do? And I'm like, be the #1 radio morning show. And he's like, okay, but what else? You need something else. It's not just good enough to do that. You need to do something else.
They have to justify what they're paying you, but they weren't even paying you well.
Good point.
Yeah,
good point.
Exactly. Yeah.
The boys club thing is interesting too. Have either of you felt like you were operating in the boys club? Because that's like a realization I've come to recently.
As we talked about, I've always been in top 40 radio, but in Vancouver, I also worked for a sports station as well. So they put me on the sports station reporting traffic Monday to Friday. And all of a sudden I was like put with all these guys and I would see them pretty much every day and have to experience them. And, I immediately felt uncomfortable, and like shit was being said that was just wrong. And so I immediately went to the boss and I was like, this is what they're saying. This is what they're doing. I didn't really care if I complained or if anyone looked down on me. I just thought, this is not good. This is not cool. And I have to work in it. And I'm one of the only women on the station. So, an email went out after. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if they did anything about it.
3 months of me being a street teamer, I was out doing something street teamy, and I heard the sports guys talking about my breasts on the morning show, and people were calling and telling me that the guys were talking about me. So I called their producer and I was like, can you guys stop and everything? I got back. They apologized. They said they went too far. But when I got back, my promotion director was waiting there with HR with a sexual harassment thing. And they were like, you need to sign this. We're going to go through. And I didn't want to sign it. And he was trying to force me and said, we have to make an example of you. This is 3 months into me working at my first ever station. I'm 23. And
oh my God.
I was crying because I didn't want to be that person. And they got mad at me. And so for me, I think very early in my career, I was told, like, if you don't play along, you're going to be that person, and nobody wants to be that girl or hang out with that girl, or you're not going to get ahead because people are going to think you're some sort of Karen. So other instances that would happen to me, which they did, I just kept it to myself because I thought that's how you had to play along. Yeah.
For me, I almost I felt like I needed to be one of the guys. That meant like participating. Yeah. Which it makes me feel so shitty to say that now. And not like participating in like talking down to other women or things like that, but like just in making my values the same things as like what I was seeing around me. And the fact that I felt like I had to do that makes me really sad now. And, you know, or even that idea of being strong and not getting upset about things and putting on that face or that mask. For me, it was very like, yeah, just don't show emotion.
We interviewed Erin Davis, and she was telling us how she used to have to go to lunch at strip clubs with the guys because she was the only girl there. And so she wanted to be part of the team. So they would go eat lunch at the strip club.
So that's so nasty, number one.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've literally gone to strip club with bosses before, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's a strategy, right? So it's like, if I'm there, if Erin Davis is there at that table, at that lunch table, whatever, even if there's other things going on, you are privy to what's being talked about. You know the direction of the station, things to be alarmed by. You have like an in.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's all that it was. It was a strategy to stay informed and like ahead of the game almost in some way. But yeah, you know, in my years after terrestrial radio, I remember I was upset about a man confronting me about drinking on the job who was always drunk. And like when I say I had 2 or 3 drinks and I was fine, like the reason that it had got brought up was because I was standing somewhere where I shouldn't have been. And so this man is confronting me about this, who's my boss at the time. And I'm like, this is rich coming from you, right? So I got so frustrated by the end of the conversation because he couldn't see what I was getting at. And like, I remember tearing up. And then he goes, do you need to go home for the afternoon? Is this too much for you? It's like, I'm going to let the tears flow because I'm fucking so angry right now. These are anger in these tears, right? Yeah. I can't even help your thick head understand why I'm annoyed right now. But yeah, I used to, you know, if I needed to cry, it's like, oh, get the fuck out. No one can see this. Keep it to yourself. Like exactly what you were saying before, Amy. So yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that lately. And yeah, I just hope that other women don't have to do that. Even Jen Valentine going to put this story in a human rights tribunal situation. Like she's 5 years out of this already, right? It takes so long, but it's for the future of women that are still in broadcasting.
And I just think of her story and just how she has to relive it all and how this person, how many people knew about it? And it's only...
We can say his name, actually. Derringer.
Okay, there you go. I wasn't sure if we could or not. But
no, we can.
How many people knew his personality, what was up to? But when the story got too big, then he had to be gone. Yeah. You know? And
there's several people that are more dangerous than Derringer. And I've said this even on my podcast before in an episode I just did, Rip and Solo. But the enablers are the problems.
Yep.
The people above Derringer who kept him in that position, protected him, right? You know, there's lots of assholes. We've come across lots of assholes in this industry, but there's a special place in hell for people protecting them.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Because they don't want to hurt the image, but this person is already hurting the image. What do you think is going to happen after all of this? They don't think of the aftermath. They just think of the now.
Yeah. And similar to your story too, Jen Valentine brought a lot of women to the table, right? In the audience. And, you know, in trying to understand the value of having both men and women at the table and what advertisers are going to sign on because there's more of a presence there. It's so interesting to think that like there's still a part of her that was being punished.
Yeah.
Question for both of you. I want an answer from both of you. Is there something that you've been the most scared to say on your podcast that you went ahead and said anyway, and the feedback proved to be like really positive?
I think telling my story, the first podcast that we did, our first episode, I wasn't very open and honest about everything. When I was let go, I didn't post about it, first of all, because I was going home to my sister's bridal shower. So I didn't tell my family what had happened because I wasn't going to be like, oh, congratulate, guess what happened? So people are asking, and I'm like, this is fine. I just subtly went away. And I was also really scared because I didn't want to get sued about anything. And so the more I opened up, I had a lot of listeners reach out and tell me thank you and hear my story and say, you know, and that meant the world to me that, you know, because a lot of it was men. It's a rock station, and just being like, we miss you in the morning. We miss this, and we're sorry. And what a piece of shit, you know, your bosses are. And that really meant a lot to me. I think other people that we've interviewed, the one that really sticks out to me is Natalie Fournier, who talked about being sexually assaulted by her co-host. And this person still works in media. And we found out that he's done the same thing in other provinces to other women. They've reached out to us, and you know, so that's
why we're talking about this stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's my experiences.
No, I'm not scared to say anything. I am way past that, and it wasn't even from 4 years ago. Like, what year is it now? 8 years ago, I wrote a book I co-wrote a book talking about terrible dates that we've been on, and hit all the names about the guys, but I was just like, everything that happened, I said it, and I don't care anymore because, I mean, a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I would have been scared, but I just felt like I was just silenced so much that after a while, I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore. What are you going to do? I'm not saying anything that's untrue. I very rarely use real names. I think that I think it's important to say something. So no, I felt zero fear.
What do you want people to know about your podcast and what you have coming up on your next season?
Well, I feel like it's just going to be so much better. We started and we were new, I guess, to the whole thing. I hadn't been in radio for a long time, and I just feel like it's going to be so much better next year. I'm so excited to talk to people, and we have people coming to us now. They're like, I want to tell my story about being a woman in whatever industry. I think we had someone messaging us from a funeral industry.
An embalmer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, an embalmer. We have somebody from the military. I think, you know, growing up, for you as well, starting so young in this industry, we just know it so well, and we know certain stories that we've heard here and there. So to give the space where it's a safe space and people feel like they can share their story finally after holding it in, that's what I'm really excited for.
Yeah.
And it's to hopefully, I've actually had some male PDs reach out to me and say, program directors in radio, and say like, thank you for shedding a light on this. I didn't realize how hard it is for women and the struggles that you go through that men don't have to. And you've made me look at that and reevaluate that.
That's what I was going for when I was trying to have this guy that I mentioned on the podcast. And we did get there. Anyway.
It's exciting. I think too, like we were just so nervous about it. And I remember being like, oh, is this even going to sound good? I don't really know the concept of what we're going for right now. And then we just like went into it. And now it seems so clear in my head, at least. I think yours too. It just feels so clear and exactly what we want to do. And so I'm just really excited to just like dive in and do it.
Yeah. And half of the battle too, I think for both of you was unpacking your story first to move into other people's stories. Cause now you know what you're creating.
Yeah,
right.
I think that's the one thing was we're storytellers and we love to tell stories and we love to listen to other people's stories and do the research behind them. And so to like create a safe space where people feel like they can share their whole truth, to me, that just, it's like therapy.
Yeah, totally. Totally. No. And as it pertains to like women in media, I think my podcast started out very similar to you guys. And I had a lot of like quiet stuff I was keeping in that I was like, I want to have a space for other women to like share this stuff. But then it also very quickly became about celebrating because we're not very good at celebrating accomplishments either. We're like, oh, we're told to stay small. And so anyway, congrats to you guys on your podcast. Looking forward to the next season. I'm excited to be working with you.
We're so excited. Thank you for taking on 2 Haligonians.
That's the first time I've heard that. Haligonian?
Haligonian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And so please check out the Bridges Burn podcast on the Women in Media Network and watch out for more from Megan and Amy.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.